We are also going to move to a full employment economy and create up to 20 million good-paying jobs. We will build the new electric cars and high-speed rail systems that we need. And when we talk about electric cars, they're going to be affordable for everybody, not just the wealthy. We will be weatherizing millions of homes and buildings. We will be rebuilding our nation's infrastructure, and we will be generating big-time sustainable energy. Under our plan, we will be making an historic $16.3 trillion investment in sustainable energy like wind turbines and solar panels, manufacturing, infrastructure, and research. A beautiful state like South Carolina, which is blessed with an incredible amount of sun. This state should be leading the country in solar energy. And despite what the fossil fuel industry may want you to believe, the reality is that solar and wind are already cheaper than coal. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Yes. We will also invest in efficiency so that we are getting the most out of the energy we are generating. That means building a resilient, secure, and energy-efficient smart grid. It means requiring that new construction and existing commercial buildings meet tough energy efficiency and electrification standards. And it means aggressively weatherizing homes and businesses in a way that will let us reduce residential energy consumption by up to 30%. Now, I'm not here to tell you that any of this is going to be easy. We have to take on the very powerful fossil fuel industry. We have to take on Wall Street, and we have to take on all of the entities that today make huge profits as they destroy our planet. And I want to talk to you about power, not electric power here, but what political power is about. In the last decade alone, the fossil fuel industry has spent more than $700 million on campaign contributions. Got that? And now you know why in Congress and state legislatures you don't have people standing up to them. They have also spent over $1.5 billion on lobbying to get politicians in Washington to do their bidding and to cast doubt on climate change. Brothers and sisters, make no mistake about it. In this fight to combat climate change, failure is not an option. And what our effort is about is to making sure that 20, 30, 40 years ago, your kids and your grandchildren do not look you in the eye and say, Mom or Dad or Grandma or Grandpa, you knew what was happening way back in 2019 and 2020. You read what the scientists were telling them. Why didn't you do the right thing? Why didn't you give us a planet that is healthy and habitable? And I don't want anybody here tonight to have to look your grandchild or your kids in the eye and say, I'm sorry, we failed you. Now is the time for us to stand up to the fossil fuel industry. Now is the time to transform our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energy. Now is the time to save the one planet that we have. Thank you all very much. you to try, we got a couple of microphones, or not? We do? All right, we got a mic. Where are the mics? Please raise your hand. We've got a staffer over here. Where's the other staffer? Have anybody on this side? All right, let's start on over here. Thank you. Yep, it is. Okay, great. Okay, let's start off. Anybody questions over here? Okay, we got a gentleman right there, sir. Yeah, give the mic. Good.
Hello, Senator Sanders. Good
Mike.
evening. How are you doing tonight?
Great.
Alrighty, sir. I have a question for you. There is a growing debate between the inviolable sovereignty of countries and the stake that every nation has in this world with regards to climate change and the environment. With President Bolsonaro's declination of international aid from France over the Amazon fires, do you support economic sanctions, interventionist foreign policy, and to some extent, boots on the ground over extreme ecological and climate crises outside the borders of the United States?
No, I don't support a military intervention. That, I think we've learned what that is about. But this is what I do support. Bolsonaro in Brazil, who is, a lookalike for Donald Trump, actually. What they are doing is unbelievable. You're all aware of that. They're in the process of burning the rainforests, which are the lungs of our entire planet. So without going into great detail, let me just say this. Climate change is not a South Carolina issue, it's not a Vermont issue, it's not an American issue, it is a global issue. And instead of having a president who thinks climate change is a hoax, you will have a president that will lead the effort to bring countries all over the world together to combat climate change. Now, I may be doing a little bit of wishful thinking when I say this, but maybe, just maybe, if we make governments all over the world aware of the severity of the crisis, maybe, just maybe, that instead of spending $1.5 trillion every year on weapons of destruction, maybe we can pool our resources and fight our common enemy, which is climate change. Hi. Hold that mic close to your mouth.
Okay. 1 second while I get my question. Okay. So, as you probably know, animal agriculture is to blame for the majority of climate change and is the leading cause of deforestation, water and air pollution, and biodiversity loss. With that being known, what do you plan on doing to ensure that Americans limit their consumption of animal products? Second part, Germany has imposed a meat tax in hopes of limiting this consumption. What are your plans to stop these large corporations from further usurping natural resources and polluting the planet?
Thank you for the question, and it's a good question. All I can say is if we believe, as I do and you do, that climate change is real, we're going to have to tackle it in every single area, including agriculture. Okay, and in fact, one of the things we want to do with our farmers out there is help them become more aggressive and able to help us combat climate change rather than contribute to it. So we will certainly, you're right, we got to look at agriculture, we've got to look at every cause of the crisis that we face. Okay, we got a question over here. Anyone got a question over there? All right, we got a woman right here.
No answer.
Oh, you got one right there. Okay, good.
If you would speak to campaign finance reform, it's my understanding that congressmen can't get appointed to major committees unless they raise a certain amount of money, and of course that lends to lobbyists having more influence in Washington. What's your plan regarding
Well, I'll tell you what my plan is. Thank you very much. Because when we talk about the deregulation of Wall Street, when you talk about why you pay the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs, why we are the only major country on earth not to have a national health care program, you talk about climate change, you are implicitly talking about a corrupt political system, all right? Absolutely. And it's hard to imagine that we go forward effectively unless we address that. So what do we do briefly? Number one, we have got to do everything we can to overturn this disastrous Citizens United Supreme Court decision. And if you want to take money out of politics, the best way that I know how to do that is move to public funding of elections. And what that means is if you want to run for office, you don't have to cozy on up to some millionaire or billionaire. If you show you have strength, you can get public funding and we can have real debates about ideas and not simply have candidates do the work of the wealthy in this country. Okay, hold that mic close to your mouth.
Hi, Senator Sanders. My name is Cassie Ratliff, and I live here along the Grand Strand. As you know, last year, some of our local communities here in Horry County were devastated by flooding in the wake of Hurricane Florence. Many of us are very concerned and wondering how we will continue to recover as we face more powerful storms like Florence due to climate change. In your $16 trillion plan for America, how will you ensure that communities like ours, who are most vulnerable to climate impacts, will be able to take advantage of the financial opportunities we desperately need to recover?
Okay, well, two things. Obviously, long term, the goal is to combat climate change so that we do not see the kind of extreme weather disturbances that we're seeing right now. Short term, communities like yours are going to need help. And in our program, there are billions and billions of dollars to help communities become more resilient in combating the extreme weather disturbances that we're going to see. So to answer your question, not only that, we're sitting here and you're talking about storms. Last week, I was in Paradise, California. Remember what happened in Paradise? That was a community that burned down. 86 people died. We're also going to provide the kind of support that firefighters and the folks who are on the front line of fighting these extreme weather disturbances need. So to answer your question, in that legislation, there are billions of dollars to help communities fight back against what is happening and helping them to rebuild.
Senator Sanders, we have a board of governors because there are so many checks that get passed around this very wealthy country. Somebody a long time ago decided it should be well organized. We have a president currently in the White House who wants to be the president forever. Senator Sanders, I'm asking you if you would consider being our last president, there's the microphone, our last president, and in that presidency establish a system where less people have to pay attention to one person in the White House who can't do his job because his job is too big.
Okay, I think I understand the question. Look, there's no question, number one, you have a current president who apparently, despite his self-proclaimed genius, I think has not read the Constitution of the United States. And doesn't understand the separation of powers, the role of media, and so forth and so on. But I think there is no question that the problems we face as a nation are so huge. Obviously no one person can do it. And one of the things that I want to see happen, and what we will strive for under our administration, is to decentralize power all over this country, to give working people the power to help make decisions locally. So, I understand your question, and let me also say, if I might, that a Bernie Sanders administration will look like America. It will reflect the diversity of America. I know that there will be at least one old white guy there, but I suspect most of the others will not be. So, okay, ma'am.
It's an honor and a privilege to address you. I worked hard all my life, a single mother, raised 3 children, was a volunteer Girl Scout leader, the whole 9 yards. became disabled. I get under $800 a month, have been homeless when I went from a 4-bedroom house, had to come from Michigan, where I went from New Jersey to Michigan, and then met a stranger on Facebook who opened up her home to me, and I used my last money to get a U-Haul, actually put me overdrawn, to get here, hoping for the best, and luckily it worked. But what do people like me, what do we have to expect? It's frightening. Everything about the future, to me, it is worrisome, anxiety-ridden.
What's your name, first name is?
It's Heidi.
Heidi. Everyone hear Heidi?
God bless you, ma'am.
All right. Heidi's story is not a unique story. You got a half of older workers in America, Heidi. You know how much money they have in the bank as they approach retirement? Zero. You got, Trump talks about a booming economy. Half of the people in this country are working paycheck to paycheck. And some of them are right here. Which means that if their car breaks down, they can't get to work because they don't have the money to fix it. And they don't get to work, they don't get a paycheck, they don't pay the rent, and they're out on the street. All right? So the truth is that today in America, like Heidi, there are tens of millions of people who are struggling. And Heidi, without going into all the details, what our administration will be about is protecting people like you, working people, rather than the 1% and the billionaire class. So what does that mean? It means that we'll build millions of affordable units of housing so that we don't have 500,000 people sleeping out on the street. We will combat gentrification so that working people are not thrown out of their homes. We're going to guarantee health care to everybody as a human right through Medicare for all. And we're going to expand Social Security so that the check you get will be a little bit more generous. And we will tell the wealthy and the powerful that they are going to start paying their fair share of taxes. Okay, I think maybe 2 more questions. One here, and that'll be it. Yes, sir.
All right, so just
Hold that mic close to your mouth.
first of all, thank you so much for coming to Myrtle Beach. I nearly jumped out of my seat when I first heard about you coming to Myrtle Beach. And for my question, I didn't originally intend to ask you anything, but as I see some of my fellow students at my school sitting around here, it made me thinking, because you talk a lot about college students in America. So for example, free public college and canceling of student debt. But as a 16-year-old in high school, I am obviously quite concerned with pre-secondary education. And I want to know, one, specifically, how would you help make that better in the United States? And 2, what can we do as students to utilize our unique opportunity to make the world a better place?
Well, I don't want to get you too nervous, but the future of this country and the world depend upon your generation, all right? My generation has failed you, and your generation is going to have to pick up the damage that we have left you and go forward, all right? So what does that mean? It means, for a start, we need to significantly increase the number of young people involved in the political process. You're too young to vote now, but you can work on campaigns. We'd love you to work on our campaign. If young people in this country voted at the same percentage rate as older people, we would transform this nation. Right? So get the word out. Get the word out to people your age and older. Get the word out that you're tired of hearing them complain about the low-wage jobs they have, tired of hearing them telling you they can't afford to go to college, they're going to leave school deeply in debt, tired of them telling you about their concerns about racism or climate change or whatever it may be. Tell them that instead of complaining, they're going to have to get their hands dirty and get involved in the political process. And I'm happy to say that your generation is already making significant differences in terms of gun safety legislation. Your generation is helping to lead that effort. And in terms of climate change. So let's keep it up. You're doing good.
I'm a local geography professor here in Myrtle Beach, and I just wanted to give my friends and neighbors here in Myrtle Beach an idea of what 2 to 4 feet sea level is. We are, by 2050...
Excuse me, I'm going to interrupt you. This is a geography professor at...
Horry Georgetown Technical College.
Okay, Georgetown.
The year 2050, where you're standing, will be the high tide watermark. By 2050.
Let everybody hear that. Get close to that mic and say it again.
By my observation and calculations, you are standing right at the high tide watermark by 2050 here in Myrtle Beach.
Beach is gone.
Okay. Well, that is a little bit scary, isn't it? All right. Let me just conclude by thanking all of you for coming out to say this. Thank you. The challenges that we face are enormous. We don't have the luxury of throwing our arms up in despair or getting depressed. We can save the planet. We can transform our economy and government. We can do all of that if we are prepared to stand up and fight back, and that is what this campaign is about. Thank you all very much.